This year has witnessed some world-shaping headlines, but there were still some topics that went ultimately underreported by the mainstream media. RT's Ilya Petrenko takes a look.
Was 2015 the champion in breaking news?
And we have breaking news right now.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Although many in newsrooms around the world today would answer yes, the media has often flipped from breaking news junkies to playing the famous three monkeys.
Far more stories were underreported than adequately reported. That's the norm. But I'm fascinated as to what stories get a particular type of heft and attention and what stories are ignored altogether.
In 2015, the war on terror has turned into
War against ISIS.
Daesh against ISIL.
Take your pick, really. But where do the jihadists get all that cash to terrorize the world? Hints that it comes from oil smuggling into Turkey, even from the U.S. Treasury, are nothing new. But this year, Moscow put forward so much photo and video evidence from its satellites and air force, the Turkish president felt compelled to respond.
If that is proven, then the honor of our nation will require that I step down. If not, then I ask Mr. Putin, would you remain in office?
Well, Erdogan wasn't overly bothered by further compromising reports coming from the likes of Norway or even comments in Washington.
This is the lifeblood. Yet, there seems to be the concerted effort on the part of some people in the international media to ignore it altogether. To think that somehow ISIS is just created out of nowhere, out of just the spirit of evil. And if you want to get after it, if you want to starve this, you cut off the source of profits, namely oil.
Here's Je suis chien, or I'm a dog, the trending hashtag that was retweeted hundreds of thousands of times in the wake of the Paris massacre. While Twitter users were mourning the police dog that got blown up in a suicide blast during a raid, Nigeria was being ravaged by terror. But as you can see, Twitter's reaction to the death of dozens of Nigerians marked in green could hardly be compared to the blue wave of Je suis chien. Just like other terrorist attacks across Africa and the Middle East in November that went unnoticed while the media was busy covering Paris.
There are people who are still using, in Facebook and others, this French flag filter showing solidarity and a recognition of the horrors that occurred in France. Fine. Why isn't Africa? Why doesn't that seem to generate the same amount of absolute disgust and reaction that France does? It's tenable, it's real, it's different, and it makes no sense.
Well, here's a man who, along with his views, had been generally off the mainstream media radar until September 2015.
Jeremy Corbyn, now leader of the Labour Party.
And in the blink of an eye, Jeremy Corbyn himself and his allies, including the new Labour press secretary, became the #1 bullying targets in the media spotlight. That can happen because of what you wear. Or for more serious offenses, sympathizing with terrorists, being friends with Hamas and Iran, or worse still, showing up in Russia, and even speaking to RT.
When somebody says something and is fairly consistent with a particular message, why is it all of a sudden suggested that this isn't mainstream enough?
It's a compliment because that's exactly what Britain needs. So what we're seeing here is an example of shoddy journalism. What's been going on is that debate here in Britain has been being confined by the media. It's been being narrowed down into a very small area.
Ilya Petrenko, RT.